But what we can probably do is go ahead and proceed with the first items on the agenda. If we have a confirmation from the staff that we have a quorum. John, can you confirm that, or is Paige with us?
Right now, our secretary is being done by. Yes, we do have a quorum, but we'll do a roll call if you like.
Okay, so we'll want to do a roll call. Have her do a roll call.
Yes.
Okay, proceed.
Ron Anderson, Chris Jenkins, Al Coon, John Burgess, and
You calling it.
What? John, I can barely hear her.
Thank you.
We have. You hear her now?
Can you hear me now?
Not very well.
Can you hear me now, Ms. Lee?
I can hear you faintly. When John speaks, I can hear him clearly. So I don't know whether you can get in the same position he is.
I am. I'm sitting right next to him. I have his microphone.
Okay, well, just speak up for us then. And if you'll just call each name and give them give that person a chance to respond.
Okay, I'll start with you, Lil Mood.
Madam Chair, who's speaking?
That's Gibbons who is filling in for Paige.
Here, I'll do it. All right. Ms. Mood?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Huggins?
He's trying to call in.
Okay. Mr. Jenkins?
I'm here.
Mr. Coon? Mr. Burgess?
Yes.
Ms. Gleason? Ms. Robinson?
Here.
Mr. Huggins?
Here.
Mr. Coon?
Here.
Okay. Madam Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. So we can move to the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Madam Chair, okay, second. This is Anderson.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call on adoption of the agenda, please.
Ms. Mood?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Huggins?
Yes.
Mr. Burgess?
Yes.
Ms. Gleason?
Okay, thank you. So the motion passes. And so that takes us to item 3, the Midlands Transit Riders update. Do we have somebody calling in to report from the Midlands Transit Riders?
Mr. Gossett, are you on the line? We do not have an update.
No report there. So moving on to item 4, and 4, 5, and 6, we have 3 sets of minutes to approve. Could we just take those up as a single item, the approval of those 3 sets of minutes? And do I have
yes,
a motion?
Chairman, you could do that.
Madam Chair, this is Anderson. I move to approve the minutes from the last 3 meetings, from the meetings listed on the agenda.
All right, so we have a motion to approve those sets of minutes from the last 3 meetings. Do I have a second?
Second.
And was that a second?
A second.
Okay, from Mr. Burgess, a
Motion
second.
from Anderson and a second from Burgess.
Okay, if there's not any discussion, could we get a roll call on approval of the minutes?
Ms. Mood?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Huggins?
Yes.
Mr. Burgess?
Yes.
Ms. Gleason? Motion
So
passes.
the motion passes. Thank you. And we'll move to item 7, and that's matters referred from the Board of Directors, Mr. Ando, and we're on page 12 now of the packet. Go ahead, John.
Yes, Ms. Mood, Ms. Chairman, and members of the committee. The motion that we have outstanding is direct staff and service committee to develop a long-term service plan primarily in Richland County. We did receive the choices report from the consultant, and staff is reviewing that. And then I would like to work with you, Madam Chairwoman, to agendize that for discussion at the next service committee meeting for the service committee to review with the alternative for the service committee to consider releasing to the public in relation to this long-term service plan, which is titled Reimagine the COMET. The next one is... Oh, go ahead.
So unless there's any objections, we would just schedule that for our next committee meeting.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman.
Okay. Well,
Madam,
Oh, go ahead.
Madam Chair,
yes.
please, I'm getting feedback. So please be very mindful of my situation as a board member. Anything that's affecting the University of South Carolina, any kind of contractual matter, will you please give me a heads up so I can recuse myself, please? I'm having a bad reception.
Oh, okay, so you're going to put yourself on mute, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm going to drop off the call and then I'll call back in.
And then you'll call back in. Okay. I don't think we have any quick action items coming up, so all right. So we'll just listen for you to call back in.
Okay.
All right. And John, did you have any more from the vote from the pending motion?
Yes. The next one is to develop a plan for park and ride lot service. That plan will be done after we go through the long-term service plan. And that's part of the overall project that the consultant is working on. And then lastly, streetscape plan for Hardin and Taylor. Basically, the project is almost complete. All the cement has been poured. The landscaping is getting installed. Our next phase will be to install the bus shelters. I anticipate that this project will be completed within the next 8 to 10 weeks.
That sounds good. Okay. Any
And,
questions for John on any of those items?
Pardon me?
Are there any questions from committee members for John on any of those items? Okay. Well, if not, then we'll accept that for information and with the scheduling of the discussion of the long-term service plan on our next month's agenda. Can we move on to the ridership report?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman. We do not have that ready. We've sent it back to our contractor to correct some missing information, so I anticipate we'll have this ready at the next meeting.
All right. And then number 9, a verbal discussion of transit operations, and that would take us to page 13. And John, you want to proceed with that?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee. At the present time, I figure we just have a verbal discussion of transit operations to talk about the status of the system. We don't have the state of service presentation at this time, and we envision that we would have that available for the committee to hear from at the next meeting, as some matters still need to be worked on in relation to those presentations. But basically, on page 13 of your packet is just kind of a summary of what's going on with transit operations since July 1 of 2020. Some of the key things that we would just like to talk about is overall contract compliance, service delivery, customer service, key personnel staffing, overall staffing, key performance indicators, information technology, vehicle cleaning, bus stop maintenance, subcontractors, and reporting and invoicing. Would you like to take each item separately, Madam Chairwoman?
I think if you just begin to walk us through that, and I'll count on the committee members that if you have a question, just please ask to be recognized, and we'll discuss as we go, not wait for the whole end to get to the end. So you'll just start with the overall compliance.
Yeah, we'll start with overall contract compliance. I'll turn this over to Leroy and Tanisha to give a summary on overall contract compliance, summary of actions, and contract deliverables.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Fergus.
I know we seem to have a change in format, but we don't have any representatives from RapDev in our service meeting.
They're here.
Go ahead, John. Can you respond to that?
Yes, they are here.
They are here.
Yes.
But
is this the point? This is a point on our agenda when they usually report. Is that what you asked?
Yeah, normally they would do a state of
nothing
service
from,
no.
we've heard nothing from RapDev, one way or the other. That's the reason I asked that question, since I can't see, you know.
Yeah, normally they would do a state of service presentation, but as of the report, as of the agenda preparation, it was not ready. So that's why
okay. So they didn't have a status report ready to bring to us.
Correct. That was accurate.
Okay. So you're just going to give us a quick update on these, and if the representatives from RapDev are present and they have anything to add to the discussion, they can do that.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Madam
Burgess,
Chair,
is that? Yes.
But what I was asking, if it's a requirement of RapDev, I would rather have them on record saying it wasn't done than have the COMET say that if they're being held accountable. Because this is a presentation they should give us every month.
Yeah, they submitted it on September 30. However, the information they submitted is not what was required to be presented. So, I mean, if you want to hear from them, you can hear their side. That's fine.
All right. So if we could get a status report from RapDev on both the information they submitted and anything they want to, and then, John, you can follow up with the staff report. So could Mr. Gagnon, is Mr. Gagnon on the line? Is he representing RapDev today?
No, the two that we have here is Ben Lemer, the transition manager, and Stephen Shear, the regional vice president. That's in the room.
So there are two corporate representatives, but no one from the local staff. Is that correct?
Is Corey on the line?
All right. Well, let me ask then a moment, Mr. Burgess. If the two representatives from RapDev are from the corporate staff and no one from the local operations staff, you want us to get a report from them and on this item on operations?
I don't think they could give that to us. You know, our procedures have changed. That's we should be hearing from our manager that's local.
Exactly. Yeah,
so
well,
if we have any questions,
as we used to do. Yeah.
As we used to do.
Right.
And it's operations manager if we had some additional questions. We shouldn't change our structure.
Well, and as I understand it, we don't have either the general manager or the operations manager on the line. What we have is two of the corporate representatives from RapDev, and if I'm incorrect, let me know. But in the absence of those two, I mean, I think we do need to hear from someone on site, and so our next best option is to proceed with the COMET staff giving us an update. And so I'm just going to suggest that we go ahead with that. And John, just walk us through the highlights, if you will.
Well, 1 second. I understand they're trying to get on the call.
Yeah, I was waiting for this call, and I just came in here, and I couldn't get on, but both Corey and Joe were on the same line that I was on, waiting for the meeting. Joe is on now, but I don't know, maybe resend the link?
Yeah, 1 second. Let's. Okay, and just send it to them.
Okay.
So can someone tell us where we stand here?
We just sent I guess they're trying to get onto the line, the general manager and operations manager. So we are
Okay.
Waiting for them to come on the line.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Burgess.
just one more thing. After purchasing all this new equipment, this is one problem we should never have.
You mean difficulty getting online?
Yes. And sending out wrong login numbers. That's what everybody has.
Well, now I dialed in on the number that I got with the service committee packet. That's the number I dialed in on, and I didn't have any problem getting on.
All right, see, we didn't get a number with the packet, and I got a number from a Pope, and then later I got 4 more from Page that had the wrong number.
Well, the one, I mean, the service packet, has the face sheet giving us the dial-in numbers, and that's what I dialed in from.
All right, but it wasn't, we didn't have that.
It wasn't.
It wasn't
You got
included.
a packet without a face sheet?
That's correct. And apparently Derek didn't get to see it either. See, these types of things should never happen.
Well, I agree that I agree that we ought to have accurate dial-in numbers on the packet in the packet that we receive, because that's also the one that goes out to the public. All right. Well, given so we'll need to correct that. But now who do we have online now to give us the
We do have the general
report?
manager in the room.
All right, Mr. Gagnon.
Yes.
All right. So are you ready to give us the operations update? We're on item 9 of our agenda.
What update would you like him to give, Ms. Moose? Since we deferred the presentation to next month when we can get some of the data issues corrected on that.
Would that be your preference, Mr. Gagnon, that you get we defer this until you have accurate information to bring?
Yes, please.
I didn't hear a response.
Yes, please. That would be my preference.
Yes, please. Yes, please. All right. Well, then I'm going to just say let's do that. Let's defer the report from RAP-DEV until our next agenda. Is there anything that you need to bring to us, John, from that item 9 on our discussion?
Well, just wanted to give you an update on just some of the things that we're collectively working on with them. But I'm not. Is that the pleasure of the committee? I'm not able to tell from the direction.
All right. So what is the will of the committee? Would you just like to have the combined update at the next meeting?
No, I want to hear what's going on. I've yet to hear what's going on.
So you feel like we need to get some update today, and we can get
Yeah,
that
I don't
from the
need
staff?
numbers as much. I mean, I'll take anecdotes and we'll give the GM the opportunity to respond. But I'd like to hear what's going on from John.
All right. Well, John, go ahead and proceed with the staff report on item 9, and we'll get the RapDev report at the next meeting.
Okay.
John?
Leroy, would you like to just summarize just your efforts in contract compliance and contract deliverables?
Okay, good afternoon to the board. Just kind of a summary of our actions of working with our ETP dev. What we do on a weekly basis is we have a staff meeting on a weekly basis where we discuss issues that surround operations, and also and when I said we also discuss operations in all areas of the business, from paratransit to facility maintenance, and also to bus maintenance. And that gives each department an opportunity to update us there as far as what's going on. We have had issues where we've had to address service issues of things that may be going wrong first I guess I'd like to talk about like on-time performance, to see whether the on-time performance that they're measuring is what we are asking for in the contract. So we work through that to make sure information like that is given. We talk about routes that might not be performing, or routes that we're getting a lot of customer service issues on, to see are there things there that we can address, or what are they doing to address those issues. We look at that. Also, too, we talk a lot right now about UFC service as far as where we are from a service standpoint, and any challenges or issues that we have there, how do we address those? Right now, we do have an action plan from
Madam
the
Chair.
general.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr.
Madam
Burgess?
Chair. Yes, I think you and I have been around the COMET for quite some time, and we're just accustomed to hear service issues, not these generalities. So I think they need to just close shop on what they're doing and start presenting us right at our meetings what we are requesting. Whoever is supposed to be responsible, we should hold them responsible. You know, we're hearing a lot of generalities and contract compliance. That's for the legal department. You know.
All right. So what I'm understanding is that what you'd like to hear is, rather than that overview, is that what we really want to know is any key issues in the operations that the service committee needs to be aware of at this point in time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. John, could you follow through on that, please?
Yes.
I mean, Madam Chair, I mean, not a major change from what we were accustomed to evaluating. You know,
which are those key overall performance indicators that are in this outline? Also, any customer service issues and any staffing issues. So, John, do you think you can summarize? Can you summarize and give us just those kind of key issues, and then we can ask for elaboration if we need it?
Okay, Madam Chair, what we can do, if you want us to get a little bit more specific, when we do have issues that we're working with the contractor on, we do observations and information that we send them, asking for information as far as what are they doing or what plan that they have to correct this. I can let Deisha speak to those things, some of the observations that we've sent to our ETP Dev general manager, and some of the responses. That'll be a little bit more specific.
Well, for example, I'm now on page 13, and I'm looking at service delivery, topic, and it tells us something that we've had missing trips, time point errors, and extra service beyond what was scheduled by the COMET. Could you speak to those three things?
Okay, yes, just going back and evaluating the system, we identified these missed trips that occurred, and they're outlined there. And based on the extra services, we had issues with our, I guess I can say our panels. Basically, it's telling the operators how that route should operate. So all of these things that we identified, and we're in the process of working with them and their quality assurance person to make sure that we're operating, or they're operating the service that we should be operating on.
Well, here's where I am with this. If the problem that we say that we identify their missing trips and they say they're not missing those trips, or are we working on what caused that missed trip to occur and what's been done to correct it? Is this a difference in? Do you understand my question?
Yeah, we understand your question. So let's give you some background on what happened. On May 20th, when the board authorized us to run an enhanced Saturday schedule, we provided that information to the previous contractor to create what is called run schedules and paddles. They created those run schedules and paddles. However, they inadvertently left out these trips. During the transition, our current contractor opted to continue to use their run paddles and schedules, which continue to cause these trips to be missed. We didn't know that these trips were missing until we got a customer complaint for somebody on a Saturday waiting for a Route 12 at 9:15. That caused us to start wondering, well, are all the service there being operated? So we did a reconciliation through our contract compliance checks to see what was going on. And then we learned that there were these errors of where these trips were being missed.
Right.
The solution to mitigation is that our current contractor has procured Optibus, and they're supposed to be doing a new run cut, and we are anticipating that that new run cut would include all of those scheduled trips that are being missed in that, since that's what we've advertised to the public on what we're operating.
So here's what I'm having trouble understanding. I understand that the new contractor got an incomplete listing of trips from the old contractor. We have the actual what is required. We have the listing of trips that are required for the new contractor. We've given them that list. I don't understand why we aren't just operating. I don't understand what the in-between work is between their getting the new list and actually operating on that schedule.
That's something you can answer? We've given the list on September 15th, so where are we with that?
So that's a month ago.
A month ago, yes. The mistress, yes. And the paddles, yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Sergeant.
I have one question. Who is the point person with the COMET that's coordinating with RAP there? Because these are problems we've never had before.
I'm sorry, repeat that question?
He was asking.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Who is the point person who is working with RAPDEF to assure that these things are followed through?
That is Leroy.
That's
Leroy and Tanisha, correct.
Okay. And so did we have an answer to where we are with that?
With the review run panel, we were
So
waiting
are we currently running the accurate schedule that was given to them a month ago? Are we currently running those trips the way they're listed that were given to RapDev a month ago?
Go ahead, speak, Eric.
Eric, with the planner, also is working with us on this. He's going to update us.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Burgess.
I hate to keep asking questions, but all through this discussion, I hadn't heard the general manager speak once. If he doesn't know, who does know?
Do you want the general
Mr.
manager
Gagnon,
to speak?
do you have something to add?
So there's a lot of questions. This is Corey Gagnon, by the way, the general manager. So there were several questions. Could I get a clarification of questions to answer, please?
Run paddles, where are we with running the current run paddles and the schedules?
We're currently running the run paddles that we were given by Transdev. The new routes and runs have been entered into Optibus, and we expect to have those, I think it's in the next 2 weeks that we'll be doing the new run paddles. The additional stuff that we were given, I believe Joe Sanchez put the instructions out there to run those mornings, afternoons, and nights, those trips that were missing.
I am so sorry, but that was very difficult for me to hear. I couldn't hear that clearly.
Okay. I guess let me get closer to the microphone. Is this better?
Yeah, talk loud, like.
I'm going to sit down with the door. Can you all hear me better now?
No, not. I can hear that you're speaking, but I can't hear you clearly.
Better now with my mask forward?
Are the rest of the committee members able to hear Mr. Gagnon?
Not a thing. Everything is mumbled.
Yeah, it's full of rocks.
This is Eric Harris, the Business Development Specialist. Can you hear me well?
We should be hearing from the general manager and the operations manager of RapDev.
Well, that too was speaking, but I couldn't hear him clearly.
I was just going to try to repeat more so what he was saying is, if you would like me to. If you prefer for him, I could just ask him to speak up.
That's all we need to do is speak up.
Maybe you want to go over there and then take your mask off and then wear social distancing.
But the main thing, RapDev should be prepared for these meetings.
John, can you let us know what's going on at your end of the line, please?
Yeah, we're adjusting the microphones. All right, go ahead, Corey.
So are the RapDev representatives in the room with you?
Yes, they are in the room.
Well, it's hard to understand because I can hear Mr. Burgess clearly and Ron clearly, and I can hear you clearly, but I can't hear the others.
Go ahead, try.
This is Corey Gagnon, the general manager. Initially, we ran the routes that were given to us, so left over from Transdev. We realized there were some discrepancies in the paddles that we received from Transdev, and we moved to correct those. We've also have moved forward with Optibus, which we spoke about earlier, to adapt those routes into the new run cut that will be delivered to the drivers. So it will be a perfect run cut in a matter of just a couple of weeks.
So let me be sure I understood. So you were saying that these discrepancies will be resolved in a couple of weeks. Is that what you said?
That's correct.
So, I mean, is there any explanation for what takes that amount of time when we're running a bus service every day? I mean, I'm no expert on operations, but I don't understand how a corrected list of routes takes 6 weeks to implement. I don't understand that.
Well, it's a data file that has to go in to basically a software system. And when you start to develop that software system, you have to make sure that you're not violating hours of service. You're making sure people have breaks. It's not just a simple drop in and go type of thing. There's some human aspect that has to be put into it. Once you receive the paddles, it does take a couple of weeks to kind of go through. But then it has to actually go out because we have a union environment here with the ATU. It needs to be posted, and then those union folks have to be allowed to bid on that route solution in their seniority.
All right. So, John, my question here for you is, what happens with customers who are operating, or, going to catch buses based on the schedules they've been given? What are we hearing from customers who are not having buses come on the schedules that we've published and given them?
Well, right now, the service is what's been authorized by the board, so I understand you said that you have extra board running those trips?
That's correct.
Okay, so there should be extra board running those trips at this point until the bidding is completed. Since July 1st, I've heard a few complaints about what happened to some of these buses, but as of lately, I've not heard of any. So I'm trusting that the extra board that Mr. Gagnon has mentioned is there, and this issue is no longer an issue. Yeah, go ahead, please.
I also want to be, just so you know, that some of these came up, and the folks that were calling in with issues were actually using an old schedule prior to the COVID schedule. And so when we looked at those complaints, we realized that those folks were actually using an outdated schedule. We were able to help them and get their new schedules and get them back on track for bus services.
So what they were looking at was our scheduled route before we implemented the restricted service because of COVID. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, in some instances, yes, absolutely, that was what was happening.
All right. So, but now the word is out to our customers about that we're operating on this enhanced Saturday schedule as long as the COVID emergency order exists.
Yeah, that word is out there. We are working with RATP Dev to also ensure that all of our schedule racks are up to date with the most current schedules as well, so that the public has what we're presently running today.
All right. Could we just move on and look at, are there key personnel staffing information that we need to have at this meeting?
Yes. So as of today, we have all 7 key managers on property and working. The IT manager started earlier. I understand. She, right? Yeah. She started on Monday. So as I said, we have all 7 key managers on property working.
All right, and then the following item is that there's some still additional staff positions that are being filled. The dispatchers.
Yes, we still have some staff positions that are being filled. We have some mechanic positions that need to be filled. I believe the IT analyst is filled now. IT analyst is filled as of Monday, back from paternity. Okay, as of Monday. Any other vacancies on the staff side?
So how are we doing on key performance indicators?
So just the mechanics. On the key performance indicators, starting with on-time performance, right now, RATP Dev is working with clever devices to validate the information that the system is reporting. And once that is done, we'll make sure that we have the most up-to-date on-time performance indicator. The report is showing 50% at the present time.
It's showing what now?
50%.
50%?
50.
All right.
Correct.
Yes.
However,
okay.
They are doing a validation check because we did have the system updated on June 30 with the enhanced Saturday schedule. So we need to see is there anything else that's contributing to 50%, or is the system truly doing 50%? So the IT staff is working on that as we speak. On the miles between road calls, we're just waiting for that. That's why I wanted to do the state of service presentation next month. Just want to make sure that we're reconciling all of the road call information to the actual miles to make sure that number is accurate. The accidents, making sure that we're tracking the preventables versus the non-preventables. And then customer complaints. There are several customer complaints from my last read of the database that still do not show that they're closed out, or if they've been validated, or if they've been closed out basically. So that's going to trigger the true number of customer complaints related to the number of customers that we carry. So there's still some work that needs to be done before we can present a key performance indicators that's reflective of by August and by then September.
Okay, when we move down to information technology, it sounds like that's a part of the work that's very much in flux right now. So if it's all right with the rest of the board members, I don't want to track through each one of those devices if they are just if overall we're just in the process of new staff getting on top of the system. Is that where we are with that?
Yeah, so basically I just want to let the board know that we've discontinued Translope. That was our tracking device, and we are anticipating replacing that with strategic mapping. Our IT department is working on setting that up, and then once that is set up, we will transition that to RATP Dev to manage.
All right, so and that's actually the application that passengers use when they are trying to find where the bus is that they're trying to catch. That's how they track the bus.
It's one of the components. That system will also be an operations management system for RATP Dev to use. It will also be able to count passengers boarding buses. It will also be able to give on-time performance reports. And then it will also integrate with our fare boxes and our destination signs. So when do we expect this replacement system to be in place? I anticipate that we should have installation on the buses in the next 60 to 90 days.
60 to 90?
Yes, and they'll have to install it on 90 buses.
Okay.
Right now, they're working on our IT staff is working on the behind-the-scenes stuff to get the system ready while they're ordering the equipment and preparing for it to be installed.
Why did we turn the old one off if we didn't have the new one ready?
Data inaccuracies was the critical issue on the Translope side, and its inability to, several of the units were 3G, a few of them were 4G, buses were just dropping off the map. It was just becoming more of an operational nightmare.
Any other questions that anyone has about information technology?
Yeah, well, mine is about, so I know that the RapDev took over July 1st. I know that, I would expect transitional issues. Where are we? Is it getting better, John, or not?
We're continuing to work through the operational challenges that we've identified. To be candid, I'm not 100% satisfied. And
Well, I didn't ask if you were satisfied. What I ask is, are we on track to get on a track to get to where you're satisfied?
At the present time,
reasonable amount of time.
I'm sorry?
Are we on track to get to where you would be satisfied with what they're doing or what they're providing in a reasonable amount of time?
No. Right now, there's contractual disputes and a lot of accusations and finger pointing.
Okay. So what's the plan, or what, based on the path that we're on, how long before we get all the kinks worked out at the rate we're moving?
Present time legal counsel is working with their legal counsel to set up a meeting to talk about those issues.
Is this going to take us 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 hours? What are we talking about?
I would anticipate after that meeting, we would expect an action plan that would give them 30 days to address those challenges that we've identified.
But some of the challenges are things that take 60, 90 days to address, correct?
Yeah, so we would ask them as part of that action plan to give us a timeline on how long it's going to take them to address each of the issues that we presented. We have like contract deliverables that still need to be delivered.
Right.
We have things that we have to mutually agree upon.
So if I hear you,
it's going to vary.
Okay, so if I hear you, to get everything squared away, you're talking about 4 or 5 months.
No, I don't think it'll be 4 or 5 months, because a lot of the language in the contract states that many of the issues need to be resolved by January 31st of 2021.
Okay.
A good example is training the personnel to meet the standards of the contract. We need to, there's some operational issues that do need to be mitigated, like let's say like the run cut, making sure we have the accurate run cut with all the services being operated, making sure we're 100% fully staffed. Several plans that need to be delivered, like a quality assurance plan, a bus stop maintenance plan, a quality control plan on the maintenance side. Are all these documents that dates have been set for completion between now and January 31st of 2021.
So with the U of SC, have we addressed their issues? Are we upsetting them or what?
That was the next item that I wanted to talk about, but overall, the university has not been satisfied with the service delivery. We do have a vacancy in the U of SC supervisor position. That person abruptly resigned. We did receive correspondence from RITP Dev yesterday that quite frankly just refuted all of the issues that the university and the COMET has presented. So that right now is in legal counsel's hands to respond to.
Okay.
Well, John, I know that
overall,
the decision.
From the university, I've not heard anything positive about this relationship since September 1.
Well, John, I know that the decision that the board made was that our legal counsel, RAPDEV legal counsel, you and the RAPDEV representatives would sit down. Now, I mean, that's 4 people, and I'm really feeling some urgency about that meeting taking place. I mean, how long can it take to set up a meeting with 4 people?
I have a call into legal counsel to find out the status of that. When they had their initial conversation last Friday, they wanted an agenda on what we wanted to talk about, so that has been provided to our legal counsel.
Well, I'm pretty sure that I reflect the feelings of this entire committee when we say that if that's the first step to resolving these problems, then that really needs to happen, if not sooner. That's just the way. That's the kind of urgency that I'm feeling. Any other comments from the other board of the other service committee members?
I'm in total agreement with that. But the thing that troubles me is we've never seen these problems that's being presented now before, you know, and I keep hearing TransDev, and that's an old company. So what did we present to RapDev when they came on board? And we've gone through a Saturday and Sunday schedule, and I can't see all those problems with us running a COVID Saturday, Sunday schedule that's free.
We provided we
I think that's
the
what.
COVID. I would say we provided the COVID-19 enhanced Saturday schedule. They made an operational decision to continue with the TransDev schedule, which resulted in some of the issues that were occurring. So that's why we're working with them to get those ones that were missing corrected. Perhaps there should have been a quality assurance check prior to their decision making and accepting the TransDev paddles, but for whatever reason that didn't happen. But that's why we're working to make sure that those trips are being operated.
But I think, Mr. Burgess, the questions that you are raising are exactly the ones that we want addressed in that upcoming meeting, and to get at the root of the problem. So I think what I'm understanding is that that's the place that we have to get started on answering the questions that you're asking.
That is correct.
All right. So I really don't want to prolong this litany of problems if there are things that we can't address in the service with the service committee today. If everything is contingent upon this meeting between RapDev, our staff, our leadership, and the COMET leadership, and the legal counsel. So I know that we got a separate report with the listing of the vehicle cleanings that have been missed, and that there seemed to be a difference in what's on that listing and what we were told at the COVID ad hoc committee meeting in terms of the progress with meeting all of the requirements for vehicle cleaning. That's a pretty urgent issue in this time of pandemic. So can anyone contribute anything constructive in terms of information on the status of vehicle cleaning? Well, I'm hearing a lot of voices in the background, and so it's awfully hard to decide where to go from this. Mr. Burgess, were you asking to be recognized?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Before you move to bus cleaning, I'm still can't understand why we don't have that person on staff that can walk over to RapDev and show them exactly everything we want. Because everything seems to be a lack of communication. I'm keep getting that. You know, because these were problems we haven't, you know, we would never considered in the past, because it never happened. You know,
well, I understand your frustration. I feel some of it myself in terms of, but procedures for cleaning buses, I mean, that's pretty straightforward. And a schedule for cleaning buses, that seems pretty straightforward. And the skills to do that seems pretty straightforward. And so it's hard to see where things break down in terms of then, say, having a listing, a checkoff list that says that's been done. I mean, I know that I'm probably oversimplifying because I'm not in the midst of it, but all of those things don't seem that complicated in terms of communicating expectations and then measuring performance.
Madam Chair, on those cleaning buses, there are two contracts there, with two contractors doing two different things, and that needs to be looked at.
The vehicle cleaning, this is Tanisha.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what.
The
Who's
vehicle
speaking?
cleaning, this is Tanisha. The nightly vehicle cleaning is still managed by the subcontractor TCS, Transport Care Services. Then there's vehicle detailing.
I'm having difficulty hearing you clearly.
Okay, Ms. Booth, so there,
Yes.
as Mr. Burns has mentioned, he's right, there are two contracts. TCS does the daily and the weekly vehicle cleaning, and presently Capital Building Services does the detailing. The contract says that they are supposed to do daily cleaning on all 104 vehicles, and then they're supposed to do detailing on all 104 vehicles weekly. The COMET pays for 2 weeks, and RATP Dev pays for 2 weeks.
Okay.
There is a total of 9 people that work in utility, and then the subcontractor brings in whatever people necessary to make sure that all 104 vehicles are cleaned weekly. For whatever, we have a staff person at the COMET that is responsible for contract oversight. And that person is responsible for ensuring that each of the cleaning terms on the contract is being met by our ATP Dev. We have done observation reports when we have gone out to spot check to see if those items on the contract have been met. And then our ATP Dev is to give us a response back, which they have, in relation to those items being cleaned or not. As of now, I cannot confidently say that 104 vehicles are being cleaned daily, just a random daily servicing, nor can I say 104 vehicles are being cleaned weekly through the detailing process. It has improved since July, but I cannot tell you today that it's being done exactly as the contract is written.
Well, and who does the spot checks, and what have they found on the spot checks?
So we do some of the spot checks just for contract compliance reasons, but they have a quality assurance manager that should be doing spot checks. They have a maintenance supervisor that should be doing spot checks, and they also have a utility supervisor that they should be doing spot checks. They have 3 more employees than TransDev has to ensure that these quality issues are being met.
And what do the reports of those quality assurance managers say about the spot checks? What do those reports show?
Talk very loud.
The reports show that for instance, hand sanitizers have not been replenished, or hand sanitizer wipes have not been replenished. Dirty buses, the dirty backs of the buses inside by the driver's compartment have not been cleaned. We're supposed to receive a report from the general manager every Monday at 5 o'clock for the vehicles that have been cleaned, detailed, and called for the week. The first report we received was on the 28th, and the next report was just this Monday. But it's not a full report of vehicles that have been detailed, cleaned, or serviced. It's just a scan of vehicles that they listed that were cleaned, but it's not a detailed report from the general manager. We have yet to receive any of those. So the backs of the buses are dirty.
So let me just be sure I understood what you said. That the people assigned to do the quality assurance are finding instances of things that were reported to have been cleaned that are been done that have not consistently been done, and that in some cases we're not getting the reports of what's been done. I mean, this is very hard to follow over the telephone, I'll tell you that.
That's correct.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
It's hard. It really is hard to follow because I keep hearing we have somebody examining, but we're not getting the reports. While we're hearing that once a month, when that should be an overnight. If you don't get it, it should be done the next day. I mean, we have that authority to get those things. Who's the contract compliance on this? And is that the same person that's telling Rep Dev how to run the routes too?
Well, from what I'm hearing, there are a number of positions and personnel assigned to do specific, both doing the work and then checking the quality of that work and then reporting that work. And it just sounds, overall, I would say there's an inconsistency among those between what's being reported, what's being found in quality assurance checks, and in our oversight spot checking. So I'm pretty distressed at this point.
So to summarize what you just stated, it's our responsibility just to enforce the language of the contract. That's it.
Yes.
When the COMET sees issues, we tell the general manager to address the issues. It's up to the general manager to figure out how to address those issues. The general manager has plenty of tools that we've added in this contract compared to the last contract to resolve those issues. However, beyond us identifying and taking any necessary contractual action that the COMET could do, that's where our line stops. So it's really at the discretion of the general manager on how he's going to address washing the back of the buses, making sure that the litter is being picked up, making sure that the hand sanitizers are being full, or things like that. So what we're telling you is that it's not being done consistently, and unfortunately, I do not have a reason why.
Mr. Gagnon, is there something you'd like to contribute to this conversation?
Yeah, I'll be glad to contribute to this conversation. I just received these reports just within the last couple of days from the COMET, of course. First thing I did this morning when I came in was I brought in the contract manager, my maintenance manager, and my operations manager. Explained to them what needed to be done and what I was expected to be done from here going forward on bus cleanliness, making sure things were filled on the bus, making sure that the wheels were being cleaned. I told them it didn't matter the amount of manpower or overtime that needed to happen. It just needed to happen. They left with an understanding, and we plan on responding to the COMET with the same verbiage I'm using now on how we are going to fix that problem going forward.
Are there any other questions or comments from the service committee members?
I guess from my perspective, I still haven't caught the gentleman's name who just spoke, but I mean, all these issues need to get resolved, and they need to get resolved quickly. I mean, we're moving in on July, August, September, 4th month of being here. I get that, there's some transitional issues, some shakeout issues, but we need to get this stuff taken care of. And I would fully expect that these things these problems stop, and that things get taken care of. Clearly, you're aware of everything now, so I hope when I come back in a month that I don't hear all these same stories again.
So I really think, in terms of this agenda item, I agree that there's not anything that we can ultimately resolve at this committee meeting level, but we hear the concerns and the problems that are existing and are being addressed, and John, we'll just need an update from you, and I think we just I guess what I'm saying is that I can't see anything else we can accomplish by further discussion of this item at this meeting. Is that?
I think just in conclusion, in order for us to get beyond where we're at today, there has to be an acknowledgement from our contractors that when issues are presented, we're not looking for them to be refuted. We're just looking for the solutions to be mitigated. Once we can get beyond that, then I think things will change. If we're just going to keep presenting issues to them and they're just going to keep saying, nope, everything is perfect, everything is fine, we don't see a problem, we're not going to get beyond where we're at today. That's the only way
Well,
I can conclude that.
I think that has to be on the table at this upcoming meeting with the legal counsel and the top staff. And so,
I would agree with you.
So would you see that happens as quickly as possible?
Yes, and I'll report back to the committee.
And then I'm just going to move on to our next the next item on our agenda, which is the passenger amenities program update.
Yes, Zane or Todd, are you on the line?
Yes, this is Zane McGee with Davis and Floyd.
So we have your written report. Is there anything you want to highlight from that?
Yes, I was just going to highlight a few things. We've got the reports in here from both September and October because we're not able to make the meeting last month. In those, in September, Davis and Floyd was able to receive 3 permits for bus shelters, and in October we were also able to receive 3 permits. And then in the 2 months, AOS has completed 5 stops fully, got everything installed, and currently, right now, there are 17 stops under construction. The majority of those already have the concrete work completed, and they are awaiting shelters to be ordered and placed.
Okay.
I think those were the biggest highlights I had, unless there's any questions.
Right. That's a substantially long list that you all are working on at this point. Are there any questions or comments from the service committee members?
I would say y'all are doing a fantastic job. I'm impressed by the number of shelters and benches and the amount of work that's going on around town. It's I'm just stunned how much progress we've made and how quickly, and I salute the work that you guys have done. And for the gentleman from RapDev, I would point at these guys for the kind of service we expect.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Any other? Thank you too for reporting on the amenities program.
Yes.
Okay. And the university service update, John, is there more beyond just
I'll give a quick
reporting
summary.
to?
So September 1, we launched U of SC Transit. That's the branding that's being used for the University of South Carolina service. We have 13 routes. Page 34 and 35 is the route network. We have a total of 12 buses that are assigned to the service. 5 of them are buses from Las Vegas. 7 of them are existing buses from the COMET. Within those 12, we have approximately 10 of them that have been wrapped with the U of SC Transit branding, with 2 more that need to be wrapped. RITP Dev is responsible for the operation of the service. While there's been some transitional bumps, we continue to work with the university and RITP Dev to resolve those bumps and make sure that we're just meeting the needs of the community that's utilizing these services. These routes are open to the public. The routes have been receptive well by COMET users, as well as working with the university on training the students on how to utilize these services. We are working with them to create a transit forum so we can teach the students how to read schedules, how to board the buses at the bus stop, and answer any questions about our participation. The university has made it clear that they're committed to wanting to make this service successful, and they're committed to working with us through the operational issues. They do want to make it clear, though, that they do not want to be involved in the day-to-day of this, which is why they hired us. So we're just going to collectively work to ensure that we meet the contractual obligations that we have with them in the delivery of the service.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from committee members? All right. Thank you for that report. And we'll go to 10C, which is the special service contract with the town of Chapin.
Yes, this is a 2-tiered report, if you don't mind. The first request is the town of Chapin would like us to operate a shuttle The dates are now November 12th through the 14th. This service would, in essence, replicate the 93X, and that they would compensate the COMET to operate the service, and it'll be open to the general public. The next piece is that the Columbia Housing Authority has reached out to us.
Well, wait a minute, before you leave the Chapin one, and the town of Chapin will pay for that service.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. All right, go to the next.
The Columbia Housing Authority has reached out to us, and there are a lot of seniors that need access to the voting polls. As you recall, at this service committee 5 months ago, the service committee recommended to the board, which ultimately approved, us to do a program where we're going to promote COMET riders to get to the polls to vote. I would like to ask that the service committee also authorize and recommend to the board that we provide a shuttle service utilizing our on-demand service for Columbia Housing Authority seniors and persons with disabilities that do not have access to transportation that can utilize the on-demand service to get to voting polls between now and November 3rd.
All right, so what we're asking, we need a motion to recommend to the board both the approval of the special service request from the town of Chapin to be paid by the town of Chapin,
Yes.
and that fits our current policies on that kind of public service, and with the Columbia Housing Authority to utilize our on-demand service to get older voters and disabled voters to the polls from now until election day. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So do I have such a motion?
So moved.
This
Second.
motion's been made, and a second. Is there any discussion? Or could we get a roll call vote on that motion, please?
Yes. Ms. Mood?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Huggins? Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Ms. Gleason?
All right, so the motion passes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then the final item on our agenda is the RapDev IT Manager update. Do we have anything to add to what's been previously
Yeah, just
done?
a quick update. So initially, as you recall, we got a request from our ATP Dev to do an interim arrangement for IT staffing because it was anticipated that the IT manager was not going to be here until October 14th. So consistent with our internal policies, though anyone that operates in an acting capacity as a manager, key personnel manager, needs to be reviewed by the service committee and approved by the board of directors. Since then, the request changed to an IT analyst, which doesn't require this committee or board's approval. And then now that we're aware that the IT manager has since started this past Monday, and so this action is no longer needed at this point.
So there's no interim needed because the person is now in place.
That is correct. I understand that they've, as they've reported earlier, they've hired an IT analyst. So the IT department is fully staffed at our ATP desk.
Well, that's very good news. Okay, any questions or comments from board members? All right, well, that completes all of the items on our agenda. Is there anything else that needs to come before the committee at this time?
Not at the present.
Not, can I get questions adjourned?
So
So
moved.
moved.
So moved, and is there a second?
Second.
Second, and all in favor? We'll do a voice vote. Aye?
Aye.
All right, I'm hearing enough voices to know that motion passed, and so thank you very much for your time and your service, and we'll adjourn.
Thank you.
for your time.